Well, my name is Jason Preston. I'm awfully glad to be here today and thankful for the opportunity to chat with you guys. I just thought I'd give you a little background on how I came here and how I got to where I'm at today. I actually got my background in public education. Thought that'd be a great thing to spend 4 years in college working on. And after getting that degree, my wife came to me and said, I don't think this is going to work out. So you better get a real job, or we're going to have to do something different. So I ended up getting involved with some marketing guys, and we ended up doing marketing and had a great experience. Worked with Costco and all sorts of different companies, Franklin Covey, and ended up getting involved with Henry Schein. And eventually Henry Schein came to us and said, hey, there's a real need with our dental office for marketing. And so we thought, well, that's a great opportunity. It's a great market and a great partner. And so we formed a partnership with Henry Schein and went out and started doing all these great marketing plans, strategies for these offices. And after a while, we came to realization that kind of we're barking down the wrong tree. We started really understanding the industry and some of the struggles that these offices went through trying to grow their businesses. The economy started turning south, and all of a sudden we realized that the total solution wasn't just getting people in the office. In fact, what we realized, it doesn't matter how many people we get in the office if they all walk right back out the back door. And so, I left that eventually, trying to figure out a solution, left that partnership, and ended up meeting up with a couple great leaders in the industry. Rick Hendrickson, who was running the Dexis business and been very successful running that for several years. A guy named Lee Allen, who had been very successful, a little company called Guru. And as we came together and started focusing on these issues, we really realized there was no one really focusing on what we saw as the most important thing that happens in a practice is not necessarily getting the patient in, but getting the patient to come in and move forward. And the ADA, a lot of the leaders have seen this. In fact, the ADA came out recently and talked about a report. In fact, you may have seen this, I think it came out at the end of 2013, where they talked about how the average income of dentists have declined since the mid-2000s. They've talked about how dentists say they're not busy enough. Others saying they're having to work harder to make the same amount of money. And the frustrating thing is the ADA said, this is the new norm. And what are we going to do to adjust that? The cheese has moved, so to say, and how do we adjust with this new norm today? And, statistically, one of the things that we found is we look closer at what's happening in the industry. It's fascinating. We can take a look here at some of the numbers, and what we find is a couple things. The average practice case acceptance rate, about 35%. So 100 people walk in an office, 35 of them are walking out and accepting treatment. What's happened to the other? That big group that's walking out the door and not accepting treatment. What we find even more disturbing is on these bigger cases, the cases that matter even more. These cases over 5,000. If you take a look at what's going on, it actually drops down to 15%. 15% acceptance rate. And just as fascinating as we continue to dig, what we find is most offices think that their case acceptance rate is 80%. Totally out of touch with what's really going on. And the reason is no one's tracking it. The consultant sales, even great programs like Dentrix, which is phenomenal, doesn't track it unless you're using spreadsheets. And so, as you look and you notice here, with all the leaders talking about it, saying, hey, we've got millions of dollars in our filing cabinets. They tell us, that we're losing out on an average of $23,000 a month in those people that are walking out the door and not accepting treatment. And the list goes on. So these leaders in the industry are saying, hey, well, this is something that needs to be focused on. So the question is why? What's going on? Why aren't more people saying yes to treatment? What's holding them back? And that's something that we've asked a lot of dentists. We've got a lot of feedback. And the number one thing we hear is, well, they don't have money, or they don't see the value in it. And as we look at this slide from USA Today, we see some fascinating things. First off, it says, guess what's going on? People are spending money on big screen TVs. They're spending money on their recreational vehicles. They're spending money on you see your patient with your iPhone and their iPads, their designer purse. But how about number 4? What does number 4 tell us? This spending being up in organic pet food. Who was buying organic pet food 5 years ago, 10 years ago when everyone had more money? Is it fair enough to say that people didn't have the money for it then, they didn't value it? So what changed? How come all of a sudden today we see this huge spike in organic pet food? Is it that the pets are saying, you know what, doggone, I'm not eating another thing till you give me organic pet food? You know, it's not. And the question is why? Why then? Why have we seen this huge change? And the reality comes down to this one thing: education.